Evil witch revenge, Catherine's crisis turns desperate and ugly because of Meghan's ploy. The future queen suffered from a serious illness, and much of it was due to her sinister sister-in-law.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the King YouTube channel.
Shocked palace sources told the National Enquirer magazine this week that Britain's most beloved princess, Catherine, Princess of Wales, is secretly locked in a life-and-death battle with an insidious eating disorder that is absolutely ravaging her body even as she recovers from ovarian cancer. So, according to these sources, her eating disorder is linked to anxiety and body dysmorphia, and it got a lot worse after the reports that Prince Harry's evil wife Meghan Markle outed Catherine and King Charles as the racist royals who expressed concerns over how dark archofficial might turn out to be before he was born, according to sources. A royal insider claims there have been times when Kate feels like her life is out of control thanks to Meghan, and that's made her eating disorder worse. At this point in time, who on earth could blame William for feeling frustrated, betrayed, and especially hurt by these very public and coordinated manipulations of Harry and his narcissistic wife Meghan Markle? Especially when the royal family is not doing well right now, they're vulnerable, they're not as visible lately on the world stage. Undoubtedly, he is probably concerned about his brother and his overall well-being. I can empathize by drawing parallels to my own experiences as the sibling of my toxic, antisocial, and maladjusted adult brother. He seems stuck in arrested development as a senior citizen, residing unproductively like a loser in our family home. Devoid of any sense of purpose, without a job, without any friends, completely isolated. He relies solely on the protection of our elderly, widowed mother. In spite of her fierce denial, she presents a really skewed representation of him as a victim to family and friends, even as she still supports his pathetic needs and accommodates his unpredictable tendencies. Yes, I have also wanted to tell my parents what to say to establish that they're in charge, to set some boundaries that would be essential to get my brother the help that he so desperately needed early on. I mean, his substance abuse has been a problem for years now, but he didn't get help. Instead, I just had to watch on completely helpless as my parents refused to follow through with any kind of real intervention, any kind of treatment that would have made a difference in his life. It would have improved not only the life of my own brother, but also the family as a whole. If my parents had not bent over backwards for him so many times, I'm sure he'd be living on the streets right now, maybe in jail or maybe in some type of mental hospital. For my own mental well being, and my safety too, for that matter, I had to cut him out of my life, and I had to figure out my own separate relationship with my parents, who could never accept their son for who he really was. Instead, they always had to try to save face. They couldn't bring themselves to admit that they had raised him to be like this. Honestly, it was like they were in some type of cult. So I can't imagine how William feels right now. He feels frustrated, he feels helpless, and he is learning day by day that he can only control his own behavior, his own responses, and the thing he needs to care about most is protecting himself and his family. I admire William so much for trying to break the cycle of denial. Now, he's not perfect, but he is doing his best in an incredibly difficult situation. He's got the state and survival of a 1,000-year-old institution on his shoulders, and he's only able to watch on as his father makes some choices that could affect the existence and survival of the monarchy itself. And William, unfortunately, at least for the time being, doesn't really have any control over that situation. He really has no say in the matter. Or is there really something big coming this spring? Maybe it's going to be in April, maybe it's going to be in May, some big surprise. Something that's going to write the record, as Lady C has promised. And if it's true, if something really is going to happen, will William ever see his brother or have a relationship with Harry ever again? I mean, Harry's addictions and his delusional sense of proportion really threaten to destroy him as a person. And in spite of all I have said about Harry and Meghan's behavior, I do wish accountability, faith, humility, and real recovery for Harry. As much as I despise him trying to interfere in U.S. policy and U.S. elections, I do hope that maybe Harry can change. Maybe he can grow up, finally become a man, and go back to the UK or a Commonwealth country without Meghan Markle. Maybe he can eventually do the work that he's always dreamed of doing in Africa, work in a less visible, non-working royal capacity. The thing is, he can't trust his own parental instincts when he is still using drugs. And look, I hate to say it, but there's no hope for Meghan Markle. She is a malignant narcissist. I mean, she's impossible to cure. She would never support Harry in his efforts to get sober and to get control of his mental health disorders. Because if Harry is able to think for himself, that means he might not listen to her every command. One royal insider has attributed Harry's own very entitled behavior as being encouraged by Meghan Markle. And I can see where they're coming from, but at the same time, I think Harry has some very dark layers to his own personality that he and he alone is responsible for. Now, maybe Harry's not very intelligent, and maybe he's lost more than a few brain cells thanks to all that drug abuse. But still, he has to understand the palace game and the press manipulation. He understands that a lot better than Meghan does, I would argue. Sadly, Harry schemes and masters these unprovoked attacks as ruthlessly and relentlessly as Meghan Markle. And if she did indeed train him to be her attack dog, well, she did a pretty good job. He seems to be as cruel and vicious as she is, and he's going after his own family. So in some ways that makes Harry worse than Meghan, because this is Harry's own family, the family who loved him and protected him all those years. It's time for Harry to stop being so obsessed with being right all the time. It's time for him to stop this quest for vengeance. I mean, it's time for him to stop just trying to stick it to his own brother at any cost. Essentially, it's time for Harry to stop trying to cut off his nose to spite his face. I mean, Harry is trying to destroy the very institution that ever gave him any value or relevance in the first place. There are also sources in other magazines who are claiming that Harry and Meghan are going to be coming back to the UK to assume the duties of a regent. They're claiming that King Charles III is incredibly ill, that he's on his deathbed. And they're also claiming that the Princess of Wales' surgery, prolonged recovery, and absence from the public eye is a result of William's abuse. It's disgusting. So Harry and Meghan's supporters, and believe it or not, it seems like there are still some media people who love them. I mean, more likely it's leaks from their PR firms. But anyway, they are claiming that since the Princess of Wales hasn't been seen out and about, she must be dead. And the royal family is trying to cover up her death until they can figure out what to do with William, because William was the murderer. It is absurd and it's incredibly offensive. So they're claiming that because of her death that never happened, William is not fit to be king, and wouldn't be publicly supported to become king upon Charles's death in a few months from now. And because George is too young to become king, Harry and Meghan are going to have to return as regents. Okay, so the people spewing this absolute rubbish have attacked me when I pointed out a regent doesn't even have to be the next adult in line to the throne. It wouldn't even have to be Harry. More than likely, a contingency plan has already been firmly in place for a long time now, making either Anne the Princess Royal or Prince Edward regent if George is too young. So folks, if you see any comments by people claiming that the Princess of Wales is dead at the hands of William and the king is going to follow suit soon, and that Meghan and Harry are returning as regents, please report it and call these people out for the lies they are telling to promote Harry and Meghan and the agenda that they are trying to capitalize on. Oh, and I'm just waiting for an excuse to come from Montecito. I mean, it has to come right before the family's triumphant return to the UK for Invictus Fashion Week. Such a shame, because I'm sure Meghan's already spent about $1 million on clothing for it. Anybody else sitting on and promulgating such an epic fraud as Harry and Meghan and the Invisible Children would never have the nerve to even speak ever again. And finally, prayers up for King Charles and the Princess of Wales. The pressure on those two is unbelievable. It's emotionally taxing. The words and actions from Harry and Meghan are wrong and unhinged. The racist accusations were really it for me. Harry and Meghan are not complete idiots. They're just incredibly evil and cruel. They're just bad people. Meghan wants to destroy the monarchy, and obviously Harry's brain has just been eaten up with jealousy. I don't know about you all, but I've been praying every single day for King Charles and Catherine the Princess of Wales. I wish them a speedy recovery, and I hope they can just return to normal without Harry and Meghan getting near. As far as I'm concerned, Harry and Meghan do not need to bother coming over to the UK. They can stay put in Montecito with the dolls, too. The king and the princess were handpicked to emotionally disengage, along with all the others. They have hurt and tried to damage 3 major bloodline royals and then Princess Catherine as well. Somebody needs to stop them in their tracks. Just shut down the gossip, the stories, the lies. Maybe Harry and Meghan need to be shipped to the end of the earth so we'll never hear from them again. Perhaps they've got room for them in somewhere like Siberia. And you, what do you think about this news? Please tell me your opinion below in the comments. If you preferred our video today, don't be afraid to like and share with anybody else who would love it anytime you want. And don't be afraid to click the subscribe button to get more updates in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in, have a lovely weekend, and we'll be back to see you all tomorrow.